There are moments in life when we realise the versions of ourselves we've been living from aren't the ones we're meant to keep. This morning I woke up knowing I couldn't keep living from an old version of myself. I had outgrown her. And maybe you felt this too. The quiet recognition that the way you have been living no longer fits who you truly are. I found myself seeing it clearly. The daughter, the sister, the wife, the good girl. Roles we often learn to play. Not just as identities, but as adaptations. Many of us form these adaptations early because they preserve connection. They manage conflict. They create a space of safety. And at some point, we recognize whether those structures still belong to us. I could see that they didn't. And maybe you've had a moment like that too, when you realise you've outgrown an old way of being. I've known these patterns for a long time. I've named them, understood them, spoken about them. But knowing something and living from that knowing, they're not the same. Perhaps you felt that gap too, the space between understanding and truly stepping into a new way of being. This morning, that gap closed for me. When safety isn't consistent early on, we learn to orient ourselves around others. We get really good at reading rooms, tracking moods, adjusting our shapes to maintain connection. That awareness can look like strength. It can look like emotional intelligence. It can look like maturity. But it's still a strategy. And strategies have a lifespan. So, as adults, many of us find ourselves organising our lives around what once kept us safe. Roles, relationships, ways of being that feel familiar even when they no longer feel true. And maybe you've known that moment too. When the cost of staying the same outweighs the discomfort of change. I can see how much of my life was shaped by adaptation, and perhaps you've noticed those moments too. Times when you stayed smaller, made yourself easier to live with, or accepted less simply because it felt familiar. Not because you lacked worth, but because worth had become conditional. And maybe like me, you've reached a point of clarity where you can see those structures for what they are. What shifted for me this morning wasn't just insight, it was alignment. And maybe you felt that kind of shift, that one where you stop negotiating with parts of your life that no longer reflect who you are. I don't think it's about fixing or polishing or turning it into a lesson. It's about living honestly from where we stand now. There's a difference between understanding our patterns and continuing to organise our lives around them. I can see now where I have done this while calling it growth, and I'm not choosing to do that anymore. And maybe you're feeling that nudge too, the sense that it's time to live more honestly, more fully, from the truth of who you are now. I don't know exactly what comes next, but I do know that I'm no longer carrying versions of myself that I've outgrown. And if you are standing at that threshold too, know that you're not alone in that choice. This is where we are today. And maybe in this quiet space between this moment and the next, you'll find a reflection of your own. This is where I leave you for now. But the journey is always unfolding.